Conversation. Okay, welcome. I am so excited to be doing this. I have just been thinking of ways to just make more of a community out of my virtual races personally, but also just having it more like conversation, um, kind of like a coffee chat almost. Like, I don't want this to be official in any way, so you guys can speak up, ask questions at any time, and also use the chat box too. And Lindsey and I will just kind of talk through everything. We got some of your responses on what you want to talk about. A lot of it had to do with just the unknowns of 2021, racing, goals, staying motivated. I know it's still kind of like an unknown year, but yeah, so welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have Lindsey Hein here
Hi,
in her
everybody.
closet. Love
Always.
it. Um, so I wanted to open it up, Lindsey, with you first talking about the Michelob Mile and the Donna Foundation first, which is one of the virtual races we're hosting.
Yes. Well, this is so fun because Kelly actually reached out to me about doing this event. And then I said, hey, actually, I'm putting on a mile virtual race myself, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And of course, because Kelly's Kelly, she graciously offered to host it on her website. And girlfriend set the entire thing up on her website. We were like texting on the weekend while she set it up. She's amazing. But I've been working with the Donna Foundation for 4 years now, and what they do is they help, they have a care line, and so people who are walking through breast cancer can call and get both emotional help and financial help from them. And then they also fund research. So my relationship with them is really special because they reached out to me 4 years ago to sponsor an episode of my podcast to promote their race. And what they didn't realize when they reached out to me is that I actually have the BRCA2 gene mutation and elected to have a prophylactic double mastectomy myself in 2013. My grandmother had breast cancer twice. My mom has had the prophylactic mastectomy because of that. So like the organization itself meant a lot to me before they even realized that. And since then, I've been able to witness the work that they do. I've gone to the Mayo Clinic and see the research that they're funding. I've heard the doctors talk, and also recipients of their care line talk about how it's benefited them. So I feel super passionate about it. 2 years ago, I decided to raise money for them, and I think we raised about like $11,000. I'm not sure of the exact amount because of company matching donations. But I took a year off fundraising last year, and this year with the pandemic, people who receive help from them have been greatly affected, as well as the foundation. And so I just decided I need to like put my best foot forward and raise funds for them again this year. That being said, raising funds for the same organization a second time, from what I've heard, tends to be a lot harder because you're asking for money again from people. Kelly, I'm sure you're super
Oh, yeah.
aware of that. So I was like, I got to get creative with this and just make it fun. So this is my first creative way to raise funds. So just running that 1 mile, I think it's such a good way to start the year too. Like, this can be for people that have never run before and they want to walk a mile, or just walk a mile. I had a friend who's like 5 days postpartum, and she walked a 20-minute mile, and that was her Michelob Mile. Or, try to run your fastest mile, and then in February, do it again. So anyway, that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I'm just super grateful to Kelly for allowing me to be a part of this.
Hey, I love it. I mean, I've been a runner for 10 years now, and I don't think I've ever done just 1 mile, like as a virtual race, as a test or anything. Maybe I should.
It's
Well, now that I'm
intimidating, right?
pregnant, I don't know if it will be super fast. I'll definitely be in the like power walking. But yeah, I am super happy. I didn't know of the Donna Foundation before. I mean, I've seen you fundraise for them on your social media and stuff, but I didn't know of them. So I'm really happy because normally I have a connection with charities before I put a
Yeah.
virtual race for them. And I always want to know more. Like, I know that there are more charities out there doing good work. And I feel like a lot of the unknown charities are the ones that are actually doing the most work with the money that you give them. So
Yeah, they're like a smaller team. It's not this big corporate nonprofit. And if anybody hasn't heard of them or doesn't know much about them, you can go listen to my episode with the founder. Gosh, it's probably 3 years old now, but it's, if you just search Donna Deegan, Deegan, on your podcast app, my episode with her will pop up, and that'll kind of give you her story, why she founded the organization and what they do.
Yeah, I need to check that out and hear from her, because I looked through their website, and their website has a lot of good information on it too. Okay, so that race is going on till January 25th. I don't know if you mentioned that, but run 1 mile, you donate to the Donna Foundation. You guys know with my virtual races, 100% of your registration fee is always donated. So that will be through January 25th, which I'm going to do it. Stamp, I am saying that right now. I'm going to
go for a walk with your dog.
A mile I can.
Just do it.
Okay, so I wanted to just hop into goals. We got a couple of requests, comments, questions through the Google form that I sent out. So I'm going to start just with what my 2021 goals are, and then Lindsey can kind of chime in with what hers are. You guys are free to talk or enter in the chat box at any time with any questions or what your goals are. I do want to hear from you guys just to see like how you guys are feeling about this year. So for those of you that don't know, I'm pregnant. I'm due in April with my 3rd baby. So a lot of my running goals come after that. I am running a half marathon for Every Mother Counts next weekend, a virtual half marathon. And it's going to be like a run walk, probably more of a walk situation. But my goal is just to complete it. I've never done a half marathon while pregnant before. So that's my big goal coming up. But besides that, I really just don't know how races are going to go. None of us really know how in-person races are. And that was a lot of the questions and kind of responses that we got through the Google form, you know, like what to do with all the unknowns of 2021. So I know, Lindsey, you have kind of a fun no goal.
Yeah, and I think too, like with the unknowns, well, we learned a lot in 2020, right? Like you can't really plan. You don't know what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. So I think that going into this year, like we all just need to have that perspective. Like we don't know what races are going to happen or not. And for me, I know, you know, back in the spring, Matt Chittum from the Rambling Runner put on those virtual, he did a 5K, a 10K and a half or full marathon. And like, that was, I know that was like at the peak of like, oh my gosh, everything's canceled. Let's do all these virtual things. Cause what else can we do? But that really helped me, like not knowing that other people were doing it as well. And so I think that if races are canceled and you want to set a goal for yourself, like a race, so say I want to run a fast half marathon, like get yourself a team of people who are also going to go after that same distance on that same day. So you have that feeling of I'm in this with other people, like you get on race day. I mean, I say that knowing that like people are probably burnt out with that kind of stuff, but we don't know if the big races or any races are going to happen. So I think that like creating an atmosphere for yourself, you know, like the Donna race that is canceled, the actual half marathon weekend, I am creating a neighborhood loop in my neighborhood so people locally can like in a socially distant way show up and like run the loop. And it'll probably be like 15 or 20 people, but enough that it'll feel like an event and feel like you'll get that like pressure of like, okay, if I want to run hard today, like here's my opportunity.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this. One of the comments that came in was saying running goals when you don't know if there will be any races. So if you just take like PRs and in-person races out of the equation, what should your running goals be? And I was thinking about this, and I don't know where I saw this, but I saw this back in like April. So, you know, beginning of the pandemic, and people were saying like their goals were changing to running a different route instead of the same run that you do every day, or running on different trails if you're a trail runner, kind of making your goals like not race related, because we just don't know what's going to happen. So I kind of like that idea, because I am guilty of running the exact same route every single day. Either it's my circle or my out and back. And so I kind of like the idea of like switching it up to that, or, like giving yourself, I want to run, total minutes per week, 100 minutes per week or something like that, instead of always making it about like pace and miles. I feel like maybe it might be nice to kind of switch it up that way too.
Yeah, and I have another suggestion about the pace thing. I think it's really important to focus on effort over pace, especially when you're doing a virtual race over like an actual in-person race, because it's going to feel different. And also your life circumstances are so much different right now than they were 2 years ago or before the pandemic. So like an example in my own life, I did the A6 Ekiden, and I was supposed to run like I think it was 4.5, or I don't know. It was a weird distance, my leg. But like I averaged 7:20 pace, which like back in the spring when I was doing the Rambling Runner races, like that would have been really slow for me. But right now it still felt like a victory because I was working just as hard as I was in the spring. It was just, I'm just at a different fitness place right now. So I think if we can focus on that like effort exertion rather than the like, oh my gosh, I'm running 650 pace or 850 pace or whatever that goal is, like sit in the satisfaction that you put the effort forth. That feels good. Those 720s felt just as satisfying for me that day as my 645s in my 10K 6 months earlier.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like because races haven't been happening, we not really have lost fitness, but we don't really have anything giving us to like chase that goal, like really push ourselves. Running, it's kind of back to like just going out for a run for stress relief, things like that. Whereas, races, when you have something to look forward to, you push yourself a little bit more. So I like that idea of just focusing on effort. One of the other comments, let me go back and find it.
Does anybody have questions on that or like follow-up comments on that, by the way? It's okay if you don't.
Anyone can chime in at any time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Strategies to stay motivated with training during cold, dark months when COVID prevents you from running or training at the gym.
Oh, I feel you on that, because especially like in the mornings, early morning, like I'm not running in the dark by myself. I'm not doing that. And then sometimes that's the only option time-wise. So I think get creative. Like try to, maybe if running can't happen, like do something else that day. I don't know what it is. Pilates.
Yeah.
Do you have a spin bike? Anything different that you can do to like change up the routine. Nothing wrong with cross training.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of the perfect excuse to use cross training, because cross training can actually benefit you even when you are 100% training for a race. But like I've been looking up body weight exercises, because I don't know if you guys have seen, but like dumbbells right now are so expensive. They want me to pay like $100 for 25-pound weights.
It's crazy.
So yeah, definitely use cross training.
If you go
now
to
that
like
we're home more.
Your local CrossFit gym, if they're closed right now, I mean, I know right down here they're still open, but you might be able to like rent them from them or ask to borrow them, because that's what, when we, like our gyms are still open in Florida, but when we closed in March, the owner of our gym let us all go pick up some equipment so we could still work out from home. So that might be a good option to reach out and just ask a local smaller gym, hey, like, can I borrow 2 dumbbells or whatever?
I love that. Yeah, I saw some people here in Indianapolis doing that as well.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea. I feel like it kind of gets like the gym a chance to give back to the community too, like, being able to just borrow some.
Yeah.
I am terrible with running in the cold and when it's dark, especially because I'm a stroller runner. So there's just like no running for me when it's dark out. And so when my kids wake up from a nap, I just can't go for a run because the sun's going to set in like 30 minutes.
Oh,
I'm just
true.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful to have a treadmill, but training during the winter is not the most fun.
If it's the cold that's bothering you, like I know this is such an obvious thing to say, but you're always fine after like 5 minutes, right? Like it's hard
Yeah.
to like motivate yourself to get outside, but like once there, you're usually taking off a layer. So it's just, sometimes I like jump around and like run around my house to to be warm before I go outside. But
Yeah.
I'm always the person carrying my hat. Like I was just carrying my hat after 5 minutes of my run. I just carried my hat for 3.5 miles
Yeah.
because I couldn't stand going out without it at the beginning. But I knew it was coming off. But I was like, I can't go through this first 5 minutes without it. So I think
Yeah.
it just, like they always say, as long as you have the right clothes, there's almost no weather that is too cold. And
Yeah. Well,
man,
and there's
sometimes
so
you feel
much.
refreshed too. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's so much out there. I mean, in terms of like, I don't have street lights in our neighborhood, so I like went on a huge shopping spree to get headlamp, the like safety lights, anything and everything I could do. And I've seen people put lights on their strollers
Yeah.
before, which I thought that was pretty neat. I mean, it might be good for the kids anyway to get fresh air before bedtime.
Yeah, no, I've done that. Like I hardly stroller run anymore, but when I was hardcore stroller runner, I would do evening runs in the dark. I mean, you have to be I live on city streets, so it really have to be on the sidewalk for the most part. But I think it was
Yeah.
cool. I remember I think back on those moments so fondly of like coming in the dark with a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also want to say, I feel like a lot of people they're just lacking motivation now, which I want to put out there. It is normal. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone, even elite runners, professional athletes, I don't know anyone that's motivated every single day to get in their workout. I feel like what our goals should turn into is kind of like how to create little habits. Like, are you walking during a lunch hour if you're working from home, or like little things like that? I feel like are much more feasible right now anyway, with, how the world is. But yeah, I mean, motivation, like it's normal not to have motivation. It's normal, especially now when it's cold, gyms are closed. You may not have, all the resources that you normally do. Just know that you're not alone when it comes to lacking motivation.
Yeah, I was gonna say Brad Stolberg. I'm gonna see if it's quick. He tweeted this yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, oh, this is what he tweeted, and I thought, oh my, this is so true. If I had to feel motivated to start a workout, I would have done 23 workouts last year, not 230. If I had to feel inspired to start writing, well, there'd hardly be any writing. Just show up and get started. If you want to stop 20 minutes in, fine, but give yourself a chance. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, give yourself a chance. Because usually you get to 20 minutes and you end up doing 30 or 40.
Yeah, that's true. Normally, I don't get motivation until I'm actually like halfway through it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can actually finish this.
Yeah. And I mean, yesterday I hopped on the spin bike for 20 minutes and that was my workout. And that's fine. I got my heart rate up and I got some endorphins for the day. And ideally,
Yeah.
I wanted to do more, but I ended up not having time because everybody needed everything for virtual school. But yeah, I think that like, I love what he said there. Give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
20 minutes is not very much time.
Yeah, it's not. Does anyone have any questions or comments on just how you're feeling about motivation? Feel free to chime in too. I kind of want to
Tips
get,
or your own
uh,
tips.
yeah, I kind of want to get Molly's tips on how she is doing with motivation with virtual learning, her kids doing virtual learning.
I don't have any tips currently just because my fitness goals have kind of gone out the window. I made a decision. Well, I turned 40 last year and I had turned 40 last year and I had started trying to train, get back into training because I took 39 very easy. And once the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, there's not going to be any races. So and it's going to take way too much time and energy that I don't even necessarily have to train for virtual races. So I kind of put that out the window. But my goal right now is to try to keep them moving because it's really hard to, I mean, normally they're in ballet and gymnastics and sometimes soccer. So they have a lot of opportunity for activity. And right now my kids don't. So I think this virtual mile is perfect because, you know, my kids know they can run a mile, and I know that our money's going towards a good cause, which is great. As far as the motivation stuff, in the winter time, I don't run in the dark. I run in the treadmill. So what I would normally do is, I know this is kind of weird, but I sleep in whatever I want to run in the morning, because I hate getting out of my comfy, I hate getting out of bed, first of all. That's the hard part. And then getting out of my warm, comfy clothes to put on uncomfortable, cold running clothes. So I would always run, like, wear my running shorts, wear my sports bra, wear whatever tank top I wanted to wear. And then, like, I would even put a sweatshirt on in the morning and start running wearing my sweatshirt, and then take it off after a couple minutes once I warmed up. Girls, do you have any tips for winter running?
What?
For winter running?
I thought you said you were tired of walking.
Natalie, she got us all running because she got new, you guys know how it is when you get new running clothes for Christmas. So excited to wear your new. So she got these really cute kids Nike like floral leggings. I'm sorry.
Nice.
Quiet.
I was going to say, to piggyback off. Oh, go ahead, Molly.
We took them for a run, and just the fact that she got to wear her new clothes was exciting. So
Oh,
that's
totally.
Yeah.
I was going to say, to piggyback off Molly, I cannot sleep in my running clothes. I was thinking about that the other day, because I remember articles back in the day when people, Runner's World or like Another Mother Runner, I don't know. I remember people posting about, like, just sleep in your sports bra and your shorts. And I'm like, I needed to sleep in a big comfy t-shirt and my underwear. Okay. And so that was never an option for me. But one thing I will say is that lately, if I am feeling unmotivated and I'm just hanging out in the house in my joggers, like not specific running clothes, but like dumpy sweatpants or whatever, I'm like, well, you can go run 30 minutes in your dumpy sweatpants. You don't have to like be all dressed up like some fancy runner. And so now I go jogging in my joggers, and, you know, they're called joggers for a reason, right?
I would also say I've seen some people, so I used to meet up with the local Moms Run This Town group in the mornings, and that's how I would get myself out of bed, because it was accountability. I knew that they were going to be there. But now that those big group runs aren't happening, you can still find someone, even if it's on like social media, or someone like a friend that even lives out of state. You can text each other in the mornings. I've seen some people doing that, where you're like, are you up? Are you on the treadmill? And you kind of like, you could even FaceTime while you do it. So at least you kind of get that same like accountability, because that's huge for me. If I'm running by myself in the mornings, it's so much harder for me to actually like get myself out of bed, unless there's someone like waiting for me, you know. Like, I'll get up for them. It's hard to get up for myself.
Well, I was going to suggest that too, because obviously right now I'm not running. I'm not doing much of anything, but with the girls that I go to CrossFit with in the morning, there's like 4 of us that go at 5:30 in the morning, and we text each other religiously every morning, like, you up? Are you up? Are you up? Are we going? And then one of the girls and I, we try to run at least a mile, sometimes 2, after we do the workout. So like, we'll do our workout and then we'll run. So that's when we kind of like decompress and cool down from the workout. We talk about things, and that helps me a lot, because that keeps you, I would say it's more discipline and not wanting to let them down, accountability, right? So that makes me go and show up when I don't want to, versus being motivated every morning, which I absolutely am not.
Well, I was thinking about that too, because I was thinking like you could set up a phone date for like your morning run if you like have it on your headphones. But then I was thinking, well, if I'm running early in the morning, I really don't want to talk to anybody. But I always come up with like good ideas, and by the end of my run, I'm like texting up a storm. Like on my cool down, I'll be like shooting off texts to random people. And I'm like, that could be a motivator to know I'm going to get my run in. And when I finish my run and I'm like cooling down or walking it in or whatever, like I'm going to get my like, you know, you like have all these people, you're like, oh, I really need to call them. Like, I really need to catch back up. I'm going to get that one call in while I'm like heading back into the house.
Yeah. Also, just knowing that there are your friends or people that you know that are up and, you know, either running or working out or whatever, going for a walk, whatever they may be doing, might be just enough to be like, okay, I can get up too.
It is lonely when you feel like you're the only one in the world awake. It's like being up in the middle of the night with your baby. You're like,
Yes.
nobody else is awake. I'm all alone.
That's going on the list. I swear there are like more than 100 things on my list of reasons why running is so similar to motherhood. Just like training in general, there are so many similarities. I always think that in my mind. I'm like, man. Okay, most efficient way to increase stamina and endurance. I feel like I'll never be able to run 3 miles without walking some. This one I feel like is loaded. I feel like there are a lot of tips and tricks and just everything.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest advice there, I don't know who asked the question or how long they've been running, but I always tell people, like, people say they don't like to run because they sometimes haven't made it past like that 5 mile mark or whatever, because once you become a distance runner, a lot of times you start feeling really good at like mile 3 or 4 or 5 in your run, right? Because it takes a really long time to warm up, especially the older you get. I mean, I am like 4 miles in, ready to be done with my run by the time I'm warmed up these days. But if like you're just now getting to the point where you're consistently wanting to hit 3 miles, I highly recommend doing a run walk, walking for 5 minutes before you even start running. Run 2 minutes, walk 2 minutes, run 2 minutes, walk 2 minutes, and slowly decrease that walk time. And slow down if you need to slow down. Like, there's no reason to like get your heart rate all out of control. Slowing down is never a bad thing. And then the other thing on that is like, stay consistent. Like, make sure that your goal is maybe 4 times a week. That's a healthy amount of time to get out there, whether that's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, because that is going to really progress you forward. And also, I say that to people coming back from injury, coming back from baby, whatever it is, always start with a run walk. Just always, always, always.
Yeah. And when I was training for my ultra marathon, the biggest takeaway that I got from that was it was literally just time on my feet that I needed to get the endurance. So I really like the run walk analogy you did, because if you run straight for 3 miles and walk a half a mile, you still finished 3.5 miles versus 3. And I feel like a lot of even beginner runners and even runners now, if we walk, we're like, oh, can I consider that a run? Yes, you can consider that a run if you run, walk, and, I mean, it's really just time on your feet. And I don't know, she didn't put in paces or he didn't put in paces, but if you are like going really fast for 3 miles, try to slow it down. Do a 10, 11-minute mile instead of a 8 or 9-minute mile. And you might be able to go and keep pushing yourself just a little bit farther each time.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of us who aren't training as like elite runners, I personally don't think we need to be putting more than like 2 hard efforts on our body a week. So on any day that you're not trying to like run a little bit faster or do a tempo workout or do some sort of interval workout, like, your miles, once you've built up your endurance, should be easy enough that you can just talk. And if you can't, then just slow it down. And that's how our bodies, I think, were built to run. You can't always work hard because you'll never recover.
Yeah, and I feel like that's another thing that could be a whole nother conversation, is I hear a lot of my athletes and people just on social media that talk about how slowing down is hard for them because their mindset is they constantly have to be pushing, and you need to be exhausted after every single run or workout, which is not the case. We need to kind of flip the conversation there and know that you can kind of slow it down, and some runs should be easy.
And also acknowledging that your easy pace isn't always the same. Like, sometimes I run easy and I'm running 8:45s. Sometimes I run easy and I'm running 10-minute miles. It just depends on the day of the week, what I'm coming off of. Am I stressed out? where am I in my cycle? How far postpartum am I? Whatever it is, like my easy pace now, even though I think if I trained, I could rip a marathon as fast as I ever did. My easy pace now is just slower than it was 5 years ago because I'm older and my life is different. So I think that it's really healthy and important to acknowledge that those things change.
Yeah.
Anybody have thoughts or questions?
I have to go to my class in a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to say that I think sometimes we limit ourselves by what we think we can do, and that's a really big problem when it comes to running. Like, you just automatically think, I can't do that. And having GPS watch can be a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing because you start to like rely on it too much, or you see a certain number or a pace and things like that. You're not supposed to be able to run that far yet. When I started running, because I'm old, I was in high school and GPS watches didn't exist. But the way that I got over that like feeling was that I didn't have a watch on, and I just ran with the older girls, and they said, this is how far we're going to run. And I just hung your life, and then when I did it, and you feel good about yourself. So there is a way to replicate that, which would be just to go, with somebody who you're friends with or who is like a little above your level, and just trust them to, lead you to whatever your goal is. So if your goal is to run 3 miles, and you're only at 2 miles, have them take you on a 2.5 mile run, and just hang on to that person and trust them to get you through it. So as long as that person is, trust. Or you could always go with a personal trainer or a coach or something like that. But I just think, you don't necessarily need to have a GPS watch to tell you everything you need to do. We've only had them for, 10, 15 years. So there's so many other ways to go about it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
those are
Molly.
really good pointers. Yeah. Thank you. Have fun for the rest of the day.
You're a champion. Teachers rock. You're awesome.
Yeah. I love that because I was going through like my running journey, and my first half marathon was in 2011, and I was just wearing like a normal Timex like timer watch, like no GPS, and all I did was press start at the beginning of the race, and I just kept seeing the time go because I just relied on race markers. But I was like, I feel like those were the days where you're just like, I'm going to go out for an hour run. See how many miles you can do in an hour, and you would come back and like map your route on your computer.
I didn't have a GPS watch when I ran my first marathon. I just Timex watch, and that's what it was in 2008. So I know some people had them, but I didn't.
Yeah. And I know some people that even if you want to track whatever run or race you're doing, put like black tape or something over the part of your watch that tells you how many miles or what your pace is at. And because I feel like there's definitely what Molly was just saying, something mental about you seeing your pace and then feeling how you feel. You could have a really like, oh, wow, I feel great, and look at my pace. Or it could also be really negative where you're like, oh my God, I am so tired and look how slow I'm going. Like, I feel like that's just not good.
Totally.
Okay, the last question that I want to just open up for discussion was, how do you talk yourself through injury and or times when you know your body needs more rest? And how do you keep your sanity and good spirits on those off days with family? I'm super irritable when I can't run. And this one spoke to me because I have 2 toddlers, 3 and 2. I'm pregnant with my 3rd, and I am not a good mom when I am injured and like can't run for a reason other than just lacking motivation or something like that, And when I was run over by my car in June, that was like an injury that came out of nowhere, which I know most injuries come out of nowhere, but sometimes you can like feel a nagging pain and you kind of know something's going to happen or go on, and you can kind of prevent it before it even happens. Well, those like 4 months of serious rehab of no running was like mentally probably the hardest time of my life, just because you don't know how to like get the same feeling as if you were running. So my only tip just from what I went through was any type of cross training you can do, which to me, walking is cross training. So anything other than running. So like if you can walk instead of run, go walk for an hour instead of running for an hour, just to kind of get you still, if it's nice outside, still get you fresh air. That was a big component for me, was like, if I couldn't run, I felt like I couldn't get outside anymore. And I don't know why I thought that way. You can still get outside, whether it's playing with your kids, whether it's walking. I don't know. She muted.
I think it was an accident.
Yeah.
Hi, Ashley.
Sorry, my kiddo's doing school.
I feel ya. I feel ya.
But yeah, so for some reason, like there was a mental block between like, oh, I'm not running, so therefore I'm just not going to go outside, which is not the case. So walking was a huge component. If you can do like body weight stuff, like even if it's just like wall sits or something throughout the day, I feel like it still gets your muscles like going, and it's not impactful, like, jumping up and down all the time. So those are my little tidbits. I mean, there's more. I could probably go on and on about this topic just because it's something that I just went through. But I don't know, Lindsay, if you've, yeah,
Okay.
still getting outside.
I never think I'm going to have things to say, and then I'm like, I have lots of thoughts. My first, I like that Sarah just said still getting outside. I love that. I was just reading up on this. Obviously, as runners, most of us are probably huge advocates of getting outside. I have been really trying to figure out how I can help make my children's behavior better. And this isn't about children, but I read something that said, like, it's so important to get them outside before noon. And there's been research that says you sleep better, your day is better, everything's better if you get your first dose of being outside before noon. So I have this mission in our family to get our kids out before their first class of the day to do some sort of walk or, rollerblade or whatever. And I think that's like so important to remember that for ourselves as adults too. Like, I'm being so proactive to make sure I'm selfishly so that their behavior is better, right? But I know it's so good for them, and it's like that's so good for us too. So like, even if you can't run outside, like if you can just make sure you do something, even if it's 15 minutes outside before noon, I think that that's a really big goal, like just something to check off every day. And the other thing I was going to say, I've been through a couple injuries and obviously had to take some downtime off postpartum multiple times. And I remember the first big injury I had, I tore my plantar fascia, like totally black and blue on the bottom of my foot. Couldn't put bare weight. It was awful. And I was not smart about it. Like, I knew I had plantar fasciitis, and I was doing a 12-mile progression run on the treadmill because it was like 100 degrees outside, and I literally could feel things happening. And I was like, I just want to get down to my fast mile. Anyway. Different human now. That was, I think, 2015. But in that time, I remember I was like, I'm going to set some goals that are not running related and get excited about other projects that I normally don't make time for because I'm spending that time running. And I couldn't even like really walk or do much on that foot for a good like 3 weeks. I wasn't even biking or rowing or anything because it was swollen and in so much pain. So I remember at that time I was like, I'm going to give myself a challenge. So we had this like cookbook, and I was like, I'm going to try to make 10 recipes in this cookbook by the end of, X, Y, and Z time. And so I think that's just like a huge thing, is if you can refocus your energy on something else that you maybe want to do but like never make time for doing, I think that can be really helpful.
Yeah. And I want you to talk about your 1,000 hours outside that you're doing with your kids, because my kids, ever since they were born, they need fresh air. If there's a day that we don't get outside, even if it's just for like 10 minutes, if it's like super bad weather or something, they just can't deal with being stuck inside all day. And I am super intrigued by this 1,000 hours because I've never like counted the hours that we've been outside, but I think it's really, really important if you have kids to kind of like you said, shift your focus to making sure that they get movement and fresh air too, which then in turn you're out there
You're
with
out there.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know yesterday I actually, my kid's behavior was terrible, bad all morning. Everybody was crazy. And I said, you can't play with his little neighbor friend that they play with every day. I'm like, you're not playing with them this afternoon. Well, then I had a podcast interview at 3:30 and I was like, I don't know what to do because like the alternative is them watching TV or playing on their iPads while I do this interview and my husband's working. So I had them like earn back the friend time because friend time means outside time. They're outside, especially with COVID, like they're not inside with their friend. So, yeah. And I think, I mean, that just proves to you that we are created to be outside as humans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this is 1,000 hours outside. And I think that you could do this no matter how old your kids are, or you could just like make it a goal for yourself if you don't have kids. Because we've been taking them to the park and doing all this stuff like when it's freezing out, and I would normally never make it a priority to be outside because I don't like to be cold, but it's 1,000 hours if you do it in a year is 2.5 to 3 hours a day outside, which is, I mean, it's not hard in the summer. It's not hard if any of you live in Southern California or somewhere fun like that. That can't be that hard, but here when it's freezing, it's more of an effort than you think it is, especially if people are in school or daycare or whatever during the day. It's hard to get those hours in. So it's a big motivator. But anyway, there's an account called 1,000 Hours Outside, and you can print off a tracker and actually track your hours. I mean, I'm not winning at life with this. 2 days ago, we got 34 minutes outside. But yesterday we got 3.5 hours, and partly because I went back on my you can't play with my friends rule. But yeah, I think it's a really great way, especially with the pandemic, to have a positive goal to shoot for that's can be running related too. I mean, you can make your kid ride their bike if they're big enough while you get your runs in.
Yeah, I love that. And I have a friend that she eats one meal outside with her kids a day. So whether it's like just going out on your porch or like setting up a mini picnic, which I know we're kind of off the topic of running, but I just thought that was cute. Like just still getting time outside, but you know, I feel like I'm always like, okay, time for lunch. We got to go in. Instead, you can
be intentional about that.
Yeah. But to kind of make that full circle, I would just say if you are injured and you can't run and fresh air was one of the reasons why you liked running, just think of other ways that you can still get one aspect of what you liked about running. So whether it was sweating, you know, you could do, like I said, wall sits or hopefully some other activity, walking, where you still like get a little bit of a sweat in. Same with fresh air. Fresh air is huge for me. So that's why I just turn to walking all the time. You can still put the kids in the stroller and go for like a even 20-minute walk, you know, just around your neighborhood.
And I would just encourage you, if you are feeling like you're on the borderline of being injured or like you can tell your body needs rest, take the rest.
Yes.
It's so important. Listen to your body. It will thank you.
Yeah, it will be much easier if you just rest than if you were to push it and then be forced to rest mentally. It will be easier and your body will make it easier probably to heal too. Okay, well, that was just the last question I wanted to go through. I know I wanted to keep it under an hour because I know that we are all on Zoom overload maybe, but if anyone has any questions or comments for anyone on here, Lindsey, me, put in the chat. If you guys just want to talk amongst yourselves too, you guys are free to do that. We'll open it up. But thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I hope that this was fun for everybody. I want to do it again. I want to sit here and talk to everybody.
It's a fun little hangout. Maybe we'll make like little monthly running hangouts or something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't be shy. Anybody have anything to say?
Yeah. How are you
Clearly,
feeling?
I'm not low on words here.
I know. I forgot to say Happy New Year in my little welcome. So Happy New Year, everyone.
Anybody else doing dry January?
Hey.
You are?
Yeah?
I got to give it to you.
Day
Well,
6?
I mean, I'm pregnant, so I guess I'm like automatically doing dry January.
Oh,
but
yeah. That
I
doesn't
don't
count.
think
You have to.
So I found this awesome non-alcoholic mixer
Oh,
that I was about ready to order. I was looking at it last night, and now I've gotten like 5 Instagram ads.
Of
I did
course.
not realize how many brands are capitalizing on dry January.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of
There are
course.
a lot of like really cute little mixer brands out there that are non-alcoholic, and I wish I would have known about that when I was pregnant because I was making my own. But
Send them
there's
to
so
me.
many-
I
there's so
want
many good
them.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key for dry January is like it's just the novelty and like the routine of like I want to sip a glass of wine while I cook dinner because that's more fun to cook dinner that way. And so I've been like pouring my generic LaCroix into like a fancy glass that feels
Me too.
fun.
Yes.
I do every
Prototype
night when
little
I'm like, oh,
martini
I want
glass.
wine.
Kombucha is the game changer.
Yeah,
It goes
Yeah.
great in a wine glass.
that's a good idea. Yeah. Or like we've been drinking a lot of hot tea because it's the routine. Actually, my husband just asked me this on Patreon. He was like, would you rather give up caffeine or alcohol? And I was like, I think alcohol, like for the rest of your life, because that like ritual of morning coffee is like I go to bed thinking about how excited I am about that morning coffee. And I think I can replace the alcohol ritual of drinking something fun
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. I drink a lot of sparkling ice now that I'm pregnant just to get like the bubbles of something, but I'm normally a wine and beer drinker. And so I give it to everyone doing dry January because I feel like it's just like a habit of me pouring myself a glass of wine, like making it through the day, which you don't need to, but
No, I said this though to my husband. I was like, when did we get on the routine that like just on like a Tuesday that we're drinking wine and beer? Like it used to, I swear it used to be that it would just be like weekend or like when we're going somewhere to celebrate or something's going on. And now it's like, oh, it's Tuesday and it's 6. Let me have some wine. I'm like, yeah. And I just kind of want to like get away from that being like, and understood like, oh yeah, it's the end of the day. We're going to have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Like make it special.
Yeah. Make it special. Make it a fun celebratory thing.
Yeah. My husband is doing the opposite. Last year, I think Joe Rogan started it. I don't know if any of you are Joe Rogan listeners, but my husband like loves Joe Rogan. He did an only meat January where they only eat only eat meat. And I think the only way to like do it healthy is if you take like a bunch of vitamins to like replace all of the nutrients that you
never
eat
vegetables ever.
No, well, Joe Rogan doesn't. My husband did more of like a paleo type thing where it was just meat and vegetables, but like no rice or anything. And he only hung on for about 2 weeks, but I got to give it to him. Like his skin was like clearing up.
Oh.
He didn't drink coffee at all. He was more energized. So I'm like, it's so funny. All these like little challenges, your body just like, it's probably because it's such like an extreme move, like either cutting out alcohol or cutting out whatever food group. Your body's like, whoa, there's a big change going on. Like, Lindsay, do you feel different?
Oh, well, it's only been 5 days. So maybe in like 2 weeks. But I know I'm like, I don't see any difference in my skin yet. I'm not I'm not sleeping better yet.
Yeah.
I usually do it every January because I feel like in December, like with all the holiday parties and everything, I drink a lot more.
Yeah.
And I feel like it almost becomes like a dependent thing, right? Like every night I'm like, ooh, glass of wine, because I'm relaxing. And so it helps in that regard because without the wine, I do sleep better because it has sugar in it, right? And then I drink more water because I'm not drinking wine, and I make better food choices. So overall, especially right now, because I'm so limited, like I literally just started walking without crutches on Monday. For me, it's like such a mood changer because I was starting to fall into that. I'm injured and I can't do anything and this sucks.
Yeah.
And I do feel like, honestly, without the wine, I hate to say it, that I am nicer. Like I'm just less irritable with my kids. Because if I'm drinking a glass of wine, I'm in the mindset that I should be relaxing. So you should not be asking me for things.
I am enjoying This time, yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
it's like Tuesday at 7 p.m. now, and like, actually, I should be being attentive and putting you to bed and not trying to relax.
Wait till they're old enough where they're like, Mom, why are you drinking right now? Like, they're just
Yeah.
gonna call you out on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's a good thing. I'm hoping after this January, it sets the tone for getting back to the like having drinks on occasions and weekends and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and end the call unless anyone else has anything else to say. But thank you all for joining us and for talking with us. Oh my gosh, Andrea, your dog.
So
is the
cute.
cutest. Aw.
Thank you guys. It was good to see faces, and I'm so glad that
Thank
you're
you.
here.
Thank
Have a good
you.
rest of your day.
You're
Bye, everybody.
Bye.